So the big news today is that Emmanuel Macron has won the second round of the French presidential election. This video is intended to be an outline of my reactions to this, and not a very in-depth analysis. And there is an important caveat I want to make. I haven't got round to watching the presidential debate between Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron. I'm going to do that and comment again, make another video. Bit annoyed at myself for not sort of doing this before the results, because I try to be up to date with big events, and this is a big event, of course. So I'm a little bit annoyed at myself for that, but that's the way it is. There were other things going on that were distracting, but this is very important, and these are the results. Emmanuel Macron on March 20,703,694. Marine Le Pen, Front National, 10,637,120. So a very clear victory there for Emmanuel Macron, as had been expected. The turnout was lower than in previous years, and this is pretty significant, I think, because in fact, if you bear with me, I'm just going to show you need to go into the next room, but this is worth showing you. A lot of the press, well, I'm not going to talk because it might affect the volume when I'm walking. Yes, a lot of the international media have presented this as a French Revolution. In some ways, that's a cliche term, but this is to British magazines, British publications, The Economist, and The Week. You can see there The Week depicting Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron as revolutionaries. I don't want to comment in great detail. What I would like to do is watch the actual debate, because I feel that is very important in terms of it's not everything, of course. It's, it doesn't, as we've seen in the UK and in the United States, the outcome of a debate doesn't necessarily mean the result. Although in this case, Macron was seen to have won the debate. He has indeed won the Elysee Palace. Brussels will no doubt be opening the champagne tonight. That's an understatement. It's impossible to avoid the fact this man is 39 years old. And for me personally, I'm 31. To think that the president of France is just 8 years older than myself is quite incredible. He's the youngest head of state in modern French history, one of the youngest ever, and one of the youngest leaders in the world today. To put things in context, Marine Le Pen only won 2 departments. I'm not sure how many departments France has, but only 2. So I wonder, was there a backlash against the fact that she resigned from her own party? I wonder, was there a backlash from some of her own supporters? But like I say, the irony of calling this French Revolution is that the turnout was down. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the hard left candidate, has vowed to make life very difficult for Mr. Macron. Um, to put things in context, the turnout was about 75%. That's higher than we have in the UK. But compare that to 1974, the presidential election between Valéry Giscard d'Estaing and François Mitterrand. That year, as I understand it, was 87%. So turnout is going to be an interesting thing to look at. I think there is a lot of people in France who were not overly enthusiastic about either candidate. And I do think that rather being a massive success for Macron, a lot of it would have been people seeing the lesser of two evils. And I don't want to be overly cynical, because there's a lot of things to say about both candidates. But initially I was going to make a very comprehensive response video to this, but I feel I'd be in a better position to do that when I actually watch that debate. Because I haven't followed this election quite as closely as I would have liked, although it is obviously very important. There's a lot going on in the world right now. We have our own election going on. I believe this is the first time, certainly in my lifetime, where a British general election and a French presidential election have been running concurrently with one another. There has been congratulations from around the world, from other parts of Europe, of course, but also significantly from the White House. Russia Today has been covering this in a predictable way, um, trying to get a negative slant on it like they always do. Um, as far as I'm concerned, they're pissed that their candidate lost, but that's that's something I'm going to address more in the next video. So this is really just my response. How do I feel? Well, this is really a summary. I have my concerns about Emmanuel Macron, some of his positions. Of the two candidates, I'm a centrist. Emmanuel Macron's a centrist. Almost certainly, I would have favoured him. But that does not mean that I am uncritical or not wary of some of his positions. And I will address that more in the next video. Um, Marine Le Pen is going to be around. She's not going to go. Whether she's going to contest the next presidential election or not, I don't know. She's still only in her 40s, so I think it's plausible. Um, so we'll see what happens. Critics of Macron will say he tries to be every man to everyone, and he's a bit of an unknown quality. But I'll leave it there, and I'm going to say a lot more in the next video. I will round up though just with a reflection on the Hollande years. Francois Hollande has had a very difficult presidency. I don't think anyone could deny that. Despite trying to bring clout on the international stage by being assertive in foreign policy, such as the French airstrikes on Libya and Syria, domestically he has had a very rough ride. Economic instability, continuing high youth unemployment, deep disillusionment with the establishment, for want of a better term, which very much symbolises why this election has went the way it has, and why in this election, for the first time in 50 years, there hasn't been a victor from either the mainstream Republican movement or the socialists. But if I look back on Francois Hollande's 5 years, I do think of all that economic uncertainty, but also it's impossible to avoid terrorism, international Islamist terrorism, the Charlie Hebdo attacks, the mainstream Paris attacks, the Nice attacks. It's just been a very grim time. Um, Not since World War II has France sustained such a prolonged period of internal violence. Well, perhaps you could say the Algerian War of Independence in the 50s and early 60s. There was certainly domestic violence going on, including the 1961 Paris massacre, but certainly not since that time. That's going to be one of Macron's major concerns, and he is going to have to be very assertive about this. Like I say, the EU is going to be very jubilant tonight. Um, I'm going to watch those debates, and I'm going to reflect more on them as I see it. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts.